The fluorescent lights in the emergency room buzzed overhead as I tried to focus on the doctor's finger moving back and forth. My head throbbed, and dried blood matted my hair from where I'd hit the basement stairs. "She's always been clumsy," my stepmother Lisa said smoothly, her hand resting possessively on my father's arm. "Probably missed a step in the dark." Next to her, my stepsister Vanessa nodded sympathetically, but I caught the slight smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. Just hours ago, she'd stood at the top of those stairs, her hands against my chest, and whispered, "No one will ever believe you anyway." I'm Olivia Parker, and at 17, I learned that truth doesn't matter when your family is committed to believing lies. "Can you tell me what happened?" the young ER doctor asked, directing his question to me rather than my hovering family members. Before I could speak, my father jumped in. "She fell down the basement stairs while getting decorations for Vanessa's graduation party. Thank goodness Vanessa was there to call us." Yes, Vanessa was there. She was always there, making sure she was the first to call, the first to show concern, the first to establish her version of events. For 2 years since our parents married, she perfected the art of hurting me while maintaining her image as the perfect stepsister. "Miss Parker," the doctor pressed, "is that what you remember?" I opened my mouth, but dizziness washed over me. The room spun, and I could barely focus on his face. I don't." "She's confused," Lisa interjected quickly. "That happens with falls, right? Temporary disorientation." The doctor, Dr. Mitchell, according to his name tag, frowned slightly. "We'll need to run some tests, a CT scan at minimum, given the location and severity of the impact." "Is that really necessary?" Lisa asked, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my father's arm. "It's just a bump." "With all due respect, Mrs. Parker, head injuries aren't something we take lightly, especially given the," he glanced at his tablet, "3 previous ER visits for various injuries in the past year." I saw Vanessa's confident expression falter slightly. "Those other visits, a sprained wrist from being accidentally tripped in a hallway, a twisted ankle from being playfully pushed into the pool, and a bruised rib from falling against the kitchen counter, all had perfectly reasonable explanations. All witnessed only by Vanessa." "Different hospital last time," Lisa said quickly. "How did you?" "Medical records are digitally linked now," Dr. Mitchell explained, his eyes never leaving my face. "We can see patterns of injuries across all facilities." Something in his tone made Vanessa shift uncomfortably in her chair. "A nurse came to take me for the scan, and for the first time since the accident, I was away from my family's watchful eyes." As she helped me onto the imaging table, she spoke softly. "Honey, if there's something you need to tell us, now's the time. We're mandated reporters, and we take that very seriously." I thought about Vanessa's threat from earlier, about how no one would believe me, about how she convinced everyone that I was jealous of her perfect grades, her popularity, her close relationship with my father, a relationship I'd lost when he married Lisa. The words stuck in my throat as another wave of nausea hit me. "Let's get these scans first," the nurse said gently, seeing my struggle. "The images will tell us what we need to know." As the machine whirred around me, I thought about how it had all started. Vanessa's small accidents that left me hurt but never seriously enough to raise alarms. The way she'd cry and apologize when others were around, then whisper threats when we were alone. How my father, so desperate to make his new marriage work, chose to believe the easier truth. Back in the examination room, Dr. Mitchell studied the images with a deepening frown. He called in another doctor, pointing at something on the screen. "Mrs. Parker, Mr. Parker," he said finally, "these scans show something concerning. The current injury pattern is inconsistent with a simple fall. Additionally, there's evidence of previous head trauma that was never properly treated." The color drained from Lisa's face. Vanessa's phone slipped from her hands. "What exactly are you suggesting?" my father asked, his voice tight. "I'm suggesting," Dr. Mitchell said firmly, "that we need to have a serious discussion about the nature and pattern of Olivia's injuries. And this time, he looked directly at me. I need to hear it from her." The room fell silent except for the steady beep of monitors. In that moment, looking at the evidence of my injuries displayed clearly on the screen, I realized something had changed. The truth I'd been forced to hide was written in my brain scans, in black and white, impossible to deny. Vanessa must have realized it too, because for the first time since I'd known her, I saw real fear in her eyes. Dr. Mitchell pulled up a chair beside my bed. "Olivia," he said gently, "can you tell me what really happened on those stairs today?" I took a deep breath, and despite my pounding head, my voice came out clear and steady. "Yes," I said. "I can." "Vanessa pushed me," I said, my voice growing stronger despite the throbbing in my head. "She pushed me because I found her college acceptance letter." The room went deadly quiet. Vanessa's face turned white as paper, while my father looked confused. "What college acceptance letter?" he asked. "Vanessa's going to State University. We already paid the deposit." I closed my eyes briefly, fighting another wave of dizziness. "No, she's not. She got rejected. I found the letter when I was cleaning the study, but she'd already spent the tuition money you gave her." Dr. Mitchell was making notes while another doctor had slipped into the room, introducing herself as Dr. Warner, the hospital's neurologist. "That's ridiculous," Lisa snapped, but her voice trembled. "Vanessa, tell them." Vanessa stood up, her carefully constructed mask cracking. "She's lying. She's always been jealous of me. She probably fell on purpose to get attention." Dr. Warner stepped forward, pointing to various areas on my brain scan. "These darker areas show repeated trauma. The pattern suggests multiple impacts over time, not accidental falls. This newest injury?" She indicated a bright spot. "The angle and force are consistent with being pushed from above." "You don't understand," Lisa began, but Dr. Warner cut her off. "I understand perfectly. I understand that this young woman has suffered multiple head injuries that were never properly treated. I understand that each injury has a suspicious explanation, and I understand that as medical professionals, we're required by law to report suspected abuse." A social worker entered the room, introducing herself as Ms. Thompson. My father sank into a chair, looking lost. "The money?" he said quietly, turning to Vanessa. "What happened to the tuition money?" Vanessa's composure finally shattered. "I needed it. Do you know how expensive it is to maintain the life you all expect from me? The clothes, the car, the social life of a perfect daughter." "So you spent $40,000 on clothes and parties?" Lisa's voice rose hysterically. "And when Olivia found out?" "When I found out," I continued, my voice steady despite my racing heart, "Vanessa told me if I said anything, she'd make sure everyone knew about the prescription pills missing from your medicine cabinet, Lisa. The ones you've been selling to other mothers at your social club." Lisa's face went from red to gray in seconds. My father's head snapped up, staring at his wife in shock. "You told me those were for your anxiety," he whispered. The social worker was taking rapid notes while Dr. Mitchell quietly called security to stand outside the door. "Would you like to file a police report?" Miss Thompson asked me gently. Vanessa lunged forward. "You can't." "Daddy, tell them she can't. I'm your daughter." "So am I said quietly. "Or at least I used to be." My father covered his face with his hands, shoulders shaking. 2 years of choosing his new family over me, of believing their lies, of watching you withdraw and get hurt while convincing himself everything was fine. It all came crashing down around him. "I'd like to press charges," I said firmly, "and I want to stay somewhere else while this is investigated." "I've already contacted your mother," Miss Thompson said. "She's on her way from Seattle." My mother, who'd lost custody to my father years ago because Lisa had connections with a local judge. My mother, who'd been trying to get me back ever since. "You're ruining everything." Vanessa screamed, trying to reach me, but security stepped in quickly. Dr. Warner spoke up. "Given the severity of your injuries and the ongoing situation, we'll be keeping you here for observation. No visitors without your express permission." For the first time in 2 years, I felt safe. The evidence was there, undeniable in black and white on the medical screens. No one could explain away a brain scan. Lisa was quietly crying in her chair while my father looked between her and Vanessa as if seeing them for the first time. The perfect family he tried so hard to create was nothing but a carefully constructed lie. "Dr. Mitchell," I said, "there's something else you should know." I took a deep breath. "The missing prescription drugs. There might be other parents involved. Other kids at risk." Miss Thompson nodded grimly. "We'll make sure the proper authorities are notified." As they led Vanessa and Lisa out of the room, my father lingered behind. "Olivia," he started, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to." "Not now," Dr. Warner said firmly. Your daughter needs rest and treatment. Everything else can wait." As the door closed behind him, I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for 2 years. The pain in my head was still there, but something else had lifted. The heavy weight of silence, of hiding, of pretending. Dr. Mitchell adjusted my IV. "Get some rest. Your mother should be here in a few hours." I closed my eyes, feeling tears slip down my cheeks. They weren't tears of pain or fear this time. They were tears of relief. The truth was finally out, written in my brain scans, impossible to deny or explain away. Sometimes the strongest evidence comes from the wounds we can't see on the surface. 6 months later, I sat in a different kind of office, watching Dr. Warner review my latest brain scan. The dark spots were fading, healing slowly but surely, just like everything else in my life. "The recovery is remarkable," she said, smiling. "How are the headaches?" "Much better," I replied. "Mom makes sure I never miss a therapy session or follow-up appointment." My mother had taken emergency family leave and relocated back to town immediately after that night in the hospital. She'd found an apartment near my new neurologist, and for the first time in years, I felt what it was like to have a parent who put me first. The criminal cases had concluded last week. Vanessa had pleaded guilty to assault charges and received probation, mandatory counseling, and a restraining order. Lisa faced more serious consequences for her prescription drug scheme. Several other mothers from her social circle had also been implicated. My father, well, that was complicated. He'd filed for divorce from Lisa and was attending therapy himself, trying to understand how he failed me so completely. We were slowly rebuilding our relationship, meeting for supervised lunches with my therapist present. "Your cognitive tests are improving too," Dr. Warner continued. "Have you thought more about college?" I nodded. After everything came to light, my original college acceptances were deferred for a year to allow me time to heal. Now I was looking at pre-med programs. "I want to specialize in neurology," I said. "Help other people whose injuries tell stories they can't voice." A knock at the door interrupted us. Sarah, the ER nurse who'd been there that first night, poked her head in. She'd become a close friend during my recovery, even helping me start a support group for teens dealing with family abuse. "Ready for group?" she asked. "Everyone's waiting to hear about your latest scan." The support group had become my sanctuary. Twice a month, we met in the hospital's community room, kids like me who'd found their voice through medical evidence when their families tried to silence them. "Just one more thing," Dr. Warner said, pulling out a folder. "The medical board reviewed your case study. They want to implement new protocols for recognizing patterns of suspicious injuries across different hospitals. They're calling it the Parker Protocol." I felt tears welling up. My pain hadn't been for nothing. It would help protect others. Walking to the support group, I passed the emergency room where everything had changed 6 months ago. Dr. Mitchell was still there, and he waved when he saw me. He testified at both trials, his detailed documentation helping to build an irrefutable case. The community room was full of familiar faces. As I shared my latest scan results, I saw hope in their eyes. Some were still living in temporary housing like me. Others had reunited with protective parents, but all of us were healing. "My mom's coming to pick me up," announced Tommy, one of our youngest members. The bone scan proved I didn't break my arm playing soccer like my stepdad said. We all clapped. Another truth revealed through medical evidence, another child saved. After the meeting, my mother was waiting outside. She transformed too, no longer the defeated woman who'd lost custody years ago, but fierce and protective, advocating for changes in family court procedures. "Dad called," she said as we walked to the car. "He's finished his parenting classes and would like to start unsupervised visits." I considered this. "Maybe," I said. "But not yet." She squeezed my hand, understanding. Healing couldn't be rushed, whether it was brain tissue or trust. That evening, we had dinner with Dr. Warner and Sarah. They'd become part of our chosen family, along with Miss Thompson, who still checked in regularly. I got accepted to 3 pre-med programs, I announced over dessert, all with full scholarships. The table erupted in cheers. These women had seen me at my worst and helped me find my best. To the future Dr. Parker, Dr. Warner raised her glass. And to brain scans that tell the truth. Later that night, I stood in front of my mirror, touching the nearly faded scar at my hairline. It would always be there, like the images in my medical file, a permanent record of what happened. But it no longer defined me. My phone buzzed, a text from Vanessa's counselor, asking if I'd be willing to participate in a restorative justice session. I wasn't ready for that yet. Maybe someday, but for now, I needed to focus on my own healing. I opened my laptop to work on my medical school application essay. The prompt asked about what inspired my interest in medicine. I began typing. I learned that healing comes in many forms. Sometimes it's a doctor who looks past convenient lies to find the truth. Sometimes it's a brain scan that tells the story you're afraid to voice. And sometimes it's discovering that your worst moments can become the foundation for helping others. The truth had been written in my brain all along.